The Federal Emergency Management Agency has mismanaged tens of billions of dollars over the years, according to numerous government reports into its spending. The government agency's response to COVID, hurricanes, floods and housing migrants have all come under fire for being wasteful and going largely unchecked, as the newly created Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, has been sent in to analyze its spending. The most recent audit of the embattled disaster response agency claimed it mismanaged nearly $10 billion during the COVID pandemic between 2020 and 2023. FEMA even approved a grant of $1.1 billion despite it only being supported by only a single piece of paper with no itemized costs, the January 30 audit by the Department of Homeland Security's Office of the Inspector General found. The request was also not prepared by a licensed professional engineer or cost-estimating professional, according to the 36-page report. The Trump administration has called for a complete overhaul of FEMA, which has a slated budget of $65 billion for fiscal year 2025. During the pandemic, $1.5 billion was doled out for one state's medical staffing without the proper vetting and could have been put to better use for other disasters, the January audit found. These issues occurred due to the unprecedented circumstances surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic and FEMA not following established requirements when delivering public assistance funding, said the report, which did not name the states which received the FEMA pandemic payments. It also cited $8.1 billion distributed by FEMA, which are costs that have yet to be determined allowable, according to the report. A leading FEMA critic said there is no doubt the agency made a mess of COVID disaster relief. What we sometimes fail to remember is that in the aftermath of a disaster there are victims, and this bureaucracy has just continued to re-victimize those victims, said Garrett Graves, a former Republican congressman from Louisiana who was a favorite to lead the agency, a job he told the Post Monday he does not want. "I appreciate the gesture, but it's such a dysfunctional bureaucracy that I don't think I would last a month," he said, adding that he supports Musk's plans to streamline the agency. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said in an interview with CNN Sunday she is in favor of getting rid of FEMA the way it exists today. On Monday, Musk announced DOGE just discovered FEMA doled out $59 million to house migrants in luxury hotels in New York City. Sending this money violated the law and is in gross insubordination to the president's executive order, Musk wrote in an X post. On Tuesday, 4 FEMA employees were fired over the payment, including the chief financial officer, 2 program analysts and a grant specialist, according to the Department of Homeland Security. A request was also made to send the money back. FEMA has handed out more than $1.4 billion in housing and aid for migrants over the last 2 years, according to earlier audits. A 2023 report by the DHS Office of the Inspector General investigated $110 million in humanitarian relief funds given to local organizations. It concluded those organizations didn't use the funds in the way they were required to, couldn't provide required receipts or documentation, and that some of the aid went to illegal migrants. In October last year, Alejandro Mayorkas, then Secretary of Homeland Security, came under fire when he said FEMA did not have enough money to make it through the Atlantic hurricane season after Hurricane Helene surged through southeastern states, followed days later by Hurricane Milton hitting Florida, causing up to $60 billion in damage. In the midst of the back-to-back hurricanes, an additional $20 billion in funds were approved for FEMA by Congress. The agency spent $9 billion of that money in a little over a week, according to CNN. In a letter to Mayorkas criticizing the response to the Helene and Milton disasters, Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz claimed FEMA has wasted taxpayer funds, misappropriated funds, and left other federal, state and local responders without deployment orders on the ground. The letter cited whistleblowers and numerous emergency management functions as its sources. An August 2024 audit of the agency found it wasted $7 billion in unliquidated funds that could potentially be returned to the Disaster Relief Fund because FEMA agents did not follow the proper processes. Also, federal regulations and FEMA guidance provide no incentive to close out grants in a timely manner or consequences for failure to do so, said the summer 2024 audit, meaning money was in the accounts of states who did not need it. Without improved oversight and stronger policies, billions of dollars of unliquidated funds that could otherwise be returned will remain obligated to state, territorial, tribal or local governments and unavailable for use in providing relief in connection with current disasters, the audit said. And the waste doesn't end there, as the report said it had also reviewed a sample of 20 other grants and identified approximately $32.8 billion in improper payments. FEMA's lack of transparency in spending waste was previously documented by the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, OGR, in 2017. The Congressional Committee found the agency wasted millions in the purchase of mobile homes for temporarily displaced victims of floods and hurricanes. The homes cost up to $150,000 each to build and maintain for a year and a half. But after their use, the agency typically gave them away or sold them, the committee found. FEMA deactivated 4,350 such homes after a flood in Baton Rouge, Louisiana in 2016, according to the committee. FEMA was established in an executive order by former President Jimmy Carter in 1979. The agency works with counterpart emergency management organizations in state and local governments. It also provides grants to victims of natural disasters to help them with temporary housing, funeral and medical expenses.